Hello everyone, welcome to Scarecrow Joe's studio. I'm Joe and this is part 2 of our paper mache gargoyle build. In the last segment we created the head, the wings, the body of the gargoyle, as well as the platform that it's going to sit on. And as you could see off camera, I went ahead and put several layers of strip mache on them. On the head, the wings, and a couple of layers on the platform. In this segment, part 2, we're going to go ahead and continue building our armatures and finish them up. And we're going to start assembling. So let's get to it. Alright, we're going to start working here. Make sure you have your hot glue guns fired up and you have plenty of hot glue sticks on hand. First thing we're going to do though is if you remember correctly, in order to hold these wing shapes in place, we attached some thin flexible cardboard strips so that when we applied the wet strip mache on there, that would hold it in place instead of having it unfurl. So we don't need those strips anymore, so what I'm doing is I'm just snipping them off with my scissors here. And by doing so, I do have some areas like right here and here on the edge where I didn't get any strip mache. That's not a big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and take a piece of masking tape and I'm going to just block that area in. The reason I'm doing that is because in the next steps coming up, not in this tutorial, but in the next segment of this tutorial, we're going to apply clay. And with these edges, the corrugation of the cardboard will come through in the clay, and I don't want that. So the easiest way to deal with that is to just cover that up simply with a piece of masking tape. I'm going to set these aside, and now we're going to move on to the head and creating a neck that we can attach the head to our gargoyle body. So a couple of different ways to do that. You're going to need a piece of cardboard, sturdy cardboard, that you can form a tube that will basically represent your neck. I just happen to have a very sturdy cardboard tube. I think this came, with some sort of a poster or wallpaper or something like that inside it. And I just cut it. This is about, again, I have my measurement on there, 1.5 inches wide. So for this size gargoyle, for the head, that's about all that you're going to need. Now, if you have a larger gargoyle, you're going to want a bigger one or a wider one. And the easiest way to create that is by taking a piece of corrugated cardboard, cutting it into the width that you want. Give yourself plenty of length. And then use a rolling pin, or in my case, I use a piece of scrap PVC pipe. And I simply just roll it around and create that shape. Now obviously I wouldn't need that much, so you could either trim it to the size that you want, or simply just tape it and hot glue it in place. That's not a big deal. So if you don't have a nice sturdy cardboard tube, then just use a piece of corrugated cardboard. That's not a big deal. Alright, so setting that aside, now that we have our little neck piece, we're going to go back to our template. And again, this is why we have these newspaper templates. I'm going to use this as a reference now to determine where my eyes are going to be, because we do want to cut our eyes out. So I'm simply just placing the template over the head, and I'm going in with my marker, and I'm marking those eye areas. Alright, so using that template, I have drawn in my eyes. And you could, take a look at it. I know that this might be hard to see because I should have used a red marker. But it's pretty simple. And then at this point, you can also determine if you want your eye openings to be larger or if you want them to be smaller. I think this is a pretty good size eyes for these. So I think I'm going to go ahead and leave that, but if you're not happy with it, make them a little bit bigger before you cut them out. But I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to take my box cutter blade here, and I'm going to cut these out. All right, now as you can see, I've cut my eye sockets out, and underneath we still have all of this cardboard, those thin flexible strips of cardboard that are going to be blocking our way. So just take your scissors and cut around those. You can just simply cut them out. You can also, with some of them, just simply push them out of the way, but you don't want to have those blocking your eye sockets any longer, because we're going, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make these so that they're going to end up being more three-dimensional when it's all said and done. All right, now how are we going to block these in, because we don't want these wide open. Very simple way to do that. Take a piece of your corrugated cardboard and cut out a triangle or a cone. You want the cone to be able to fit in your eye, but not fall through the eye, if that makes any sense. So you want it to fit inside the eye, but you don't want it to fall completely through. So you want some of that sticking out. The next thing we're going to do is take, this is just a couple of sheets of newspaper. And what I do is I put my cardboard triangle on the edge here. And I want to leave a little bit more room. So I'm just taking, move it up here so you could see it maybe a little bit better. I'm just taking my marker and I'm marking a line there. So I ended up only using one sheet. I had two inside here, but I'm only going to need one. So I took that other sheet out of there. So line up your piece of your triangle cardboard. Line that up. Give yourself some room down here. And then you're just going to fold it over. And then turning it, you're going to fold it over again. That's really all you need. So holding that in place, I'm going to go ahead and cut here, and I'm going to cut across here. So I have my newspaper triangle wrapped around my corrugated cardboard triangle. I'm just taking a couple of pieces of masking tape to hold that in place. And then I'm removing my cardboard triangle. So this is how it's going to work. You put that inside your eye right there. We take our hot glue right around the edges. Again, you're working with hot glue. Make sure that you have a little cup of cold water on hand. And I'm simply pushing that newspaper cone now that we have down inside there. Make sure that your edges are connecting. And you're going to do the exact same thing for your other eye. Alright, so I have those in place, and if you have excess around your eye, if it's not a whole lot, don't worry about it, because what we're going to end up doing is going in with some strip mache and applying strip mache, like one layer inside these eyes. We're going to wet it with some paste, and then we're going to apply another layer of strip mache inside there. But if you got big, a lot hanging out, just go around and trim it. So yeah, pretty simple. That's how you do that. Just really quickly, I wanted to give you another look of the finished gargoyle back here and do a little comparison. I did the eyes the same way, so there is it makes it look more three-dimensional. And then we're also going to create some eyeballs to put in there too. So basically it's the same exact thing that I've done on this one. Alright, so we're going to be bouncing around a little bit, going back and forth from our body and our wings and our head. So sitting the head aside, we're going to move on to our body. And as you can see, here's my platform, and I have my body shape. This is going to be the front of the body, where the head is going to be attached to that body. So one of the things that I do is I want to determine how much on the platform do I want to leave, because keep in mind, like the guy in the back here, we're going to be adding arms and feet. So you're going to want some room for your arms and your feet here. So what I have determined is I've kind of stood over it, and that's what you're going to do. There's the platform. I know I'm looking at the back of it as well, because I do want some room in the back. I don't think I'm going to put a tail on him, so I'm not going to leave that much room back there. So I want most of the room in the front. So I'm basically just taking my marker and I'm marking where I want that. The other thing is that you do want to position it so that you have pretty much the same space on either side of him. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. So right about right there, that's where I'm going to put him. I'm not going to do any attaching just yet, because we're going to turn it here, and we're going to attach it first with using some more of these cardboard L brackets. So again, with my thin flexible cardboard, and about, I don't know, half an inch wide, I'm going to cut some strips for my cardboard L brackets that are going to hold this thing in place while we finish up the armature on him and move on to the strip mache as well. Alright, I'm ready to start attaching this. So where I have my mark, I'm going to go ahead and squirt in some hot glue. I'm going to line it up again, making sure I have the same space on either side, so that's a bit more symmetrical. And then I'm going to start taking some of these L brackets here. I'm going to do one right in the middle, and one here on this side and another one on that side. So I have that in place in the front, and I'm going to move on to the back. And I didn't put any hot glue on the back to hold it in place. I'm going to use these again. I'm going to go back and I'm going to use these L brackets here. You're going to need several of these. So I'm going to put one there, one there. I'm going to put another one right there. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to put at least one here on that side, one or two back here. Do the same thing on this side, one or two back here. Alright, now as you can see, I have completed that. I've got a bunch of L brackets all the way in there, all the way around. This is the very back. And then these are the sides here. And then these are the front. This is the front. For good measure, I'm going to go ahead and take some hot glue. And I'm going to, in between all of the L brackets, I'm going to run some hot glue. Where I can get in there with my hot glue gun. There's going to be some areas that you probably won't be able to get in there with the hot glue gun. Don't worry about that. Alright, next step. We have all of these wide open spaces in here. I don't like having that many wide open spaces because we need to create a barrier in order for us to apply strip mache. So the easiest way to do that is blocking some of that in by using some crumbled up newspaper. So what I've done here is I've taken, you can do 2 to 3 sheets of newspaper, whatever you feel like doing. And I'm just kind of crumbling it or rolling it, folding it in half. And you're going to need a lot of masking tape for this. And then I'm taping it all the way around. After I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead with my hot glue. Again, you're going to need quite a bit of hot glue. And I'm just going to start initially blocking in all of those open spaces using my my newspaper here. You don't have to fill it in completely, but you do want to have some of it blocked in. All right, as you can see, I'm moving right along here, blocking in the back, and I'm only blocking in the back, okay? Not going to block in anything in here on either one of the sides, just the back. So I have like one space here. I'm going to crumble up some newspaper and put in there. I'm not so worried about filling it the entirety of the back, but I just wanted to fill it a little bit to give me a little bit more stability when I start applying the strip mache. But before we even do that, we're going to block it out even more using some masking tape. But we're also going to create our back legs that are going to be attached back here. And then also our front legs and our head. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up in the back, and then we'll move on to the front of the armature here. All right, and once again, bouncing back to the head, as you can see, I have placed my cardboard, sturdy cardboard tube that I cut into the width that I want the neck to be sticking out. So if you want your head to be sticking out even farther from your armature, then you're going to make this taller. But I don't want it sticking out that much, so I did 1.5 inches. If you want your head sticking out from your body farther than that, then you'll go ahead and create your cardboard tube to be longer. So I made my mark around my cardboard tube, and then with my hot glue, I'm just going to go ahead, squirt some hot glue around that, and attach my tube to it. Neck is attached, and moving right along. Want to determine where I want to position my head. I'm going to turn it here, so hopefully you can see that better. So it's going to have this shape where it's in a crouch position, just like that guy over there in the back. So do you want your head lower on the body? This is the way it looks in the front. There's a side view. Or do you want it a little bit higher? I think I want mine a little bit higher. So about right there is where I'm going to position it. Alright, so with my hot glue around my tube here, put in quite a bit of that hot glue. And then I'm just going to position it, looking at it from the front, looking at it from the side. I said I wanted it about right there, so it's still in like a crouched position, but the head isn't as low. Now you can make your head lower, not a big deal. And of course I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to hold this in place until it cools and sets up. All right, the head is attached. Look at it again from that angle. Time to attach the wings. And I do realize that I did not, in my normal form, go over tools and materials that you're going to need. But I will list everything in the description of this video as well. But one thing that really comes in handy that I find for attaching wings and kind of holding them in place while they set up and cool with hot glue are some little spring clamps. I have 2 here. For some reason, I can't find the other one that matches this size, and I can't find the other one that matches this size. But I have 3 different sizes. Either one of these, because this is a smaller one, they're going to help. And these are just they're plastic, no big deal, nothing crazy, nothing fancy, and they're cheap. I picked up a set of these at our local hardware store, and I think they were like 16 bucks. So anyway, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to the wings. Now, this is where you're going to have a big decision to make. All right, so you have the gargoyle there, and a couple of different ways that you can attach your wings. You can attach them to the front panel, so this panel right here, something like that. Or if you want them back a little, you can attach them to the side panel back here. So that's one of the reasons why we have not blocked anything in these areas on the sides, because we're going to attach wings up here and then legs as well. So yeah, that's your big decision. Do you want, what position do you want your wings in? Facing forward or facing towards the back like that? Or you can even do, I mean, one facing towards the back, the other one facing towards the front. So that's your decision there. And then of course, do you want them angled down or do you want them angled up? So these are decisions that you're going to have to make, and I have to make them as well. So I think what I'm going to do on this guy is probably angle them. I kind of like that look. It's the same that I did back here with that big guy. I angled him towards the back. Or do I want him like this? Decisions. All right. After some thought, I've made up my mind. I'm going to go ahead and attach them on the side panel there in the back. So the angle that I want, probably right about there. I mean, you could tilt your wings up, but I think I kind of like them down a little bit, so right about there. Something that you could do is take your marker, and you can mark around the area where you're going to put your hot glue. You're going to need a lot of hot glue for this. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my hot glue all in here. Take my wing, kind of match it up to where my mark is. Where my clamp kind of comes in handy. I'm going to hold that in place. And I'm going to position my other wing and do the same thing. Alright, wings are attached. They've cooled. I'm going to go ahead and remove my clamps. Get those out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and move on in attaching front arms and hind legs. First things first, we're going to attach some front arms. Really easy. You're going to need either rolled up newspaper tubes, and I'll show you how to do that because that's what we're going to do for our back legs, or some paper towel tubes. You just cut them in half lengthwise. You can reform them into the diameter that you want them to be. So something like that. Now we don't need them to be this long. We don't want them sticking way up here. Basically, I want to kind of attach mine to about right here, maybe where his ear area would be. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mark. Made my mark, and I'm just going to take my scissors and trim that piece off. And that will give me the length that I want. And then also the thickness that I want as well. You can have them taper down like this, where you have more of an maybe like an ankle area where it's thicker up on top, thinner down on the bottom, if you wanted to do that. Or you can just simply have it all kind of match up where the thickness is the same. There's the length that I want, and just placing it against my other cardboard paper towel tube, I'm going to make my mark so that I know I have about the same length for each leg. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Alright, next, go ahead and get some strips of masking tape cut, and what I do is I like to, pre-cut them off or tear them off, and I stick them on the edge of my table. so that I can easily get to them. And going back again, I'm determining, do I want my legs to taper, or do I want them to be relatively the same thickness from the top of the shoulder down to the bottom? I think I do want them to taper a little bit, so holding that in place like that, taking one of the strips of my masking tape, and I'm going to hold that in position up there, as well as down here. It's not pretty, but it works. Go back and remeasure. So that's going to be like that. Alright, so something like that. It's going to be at an angle where I'm going to glue, and I'm going to glue it to the body here. But before I do that, because I don't want it to just be held in place with masking tape, I'm going to take my hot glue, and I'm going to put hot glue around the edges here. I did the same thing for my other cardboard tube, trying to get them to basically the same taper if you're tapering it, or the same, pretty much the same diameter, again with my hot glue. Now I don't want to just leave this hollow, because I don't like that. I want it to have more support and more structure inside of it, because we're going to attach these and then we're going to strip mache them. And if they get really soggy and wet with the strip mache, they'll collapse. And what I'm going to do next, and what I'm going to show you, is how to avoid that. So you just take some newspaper, crumble it up, and just stuff it. You don't need to cap the bottoms, don't even worry about that. But I'm just stuffing newspaper. The way I'm using the end of a paintbrush here, and I'm pushing it down so it goes all the way pretty much to the end. And I'm just gonna fill this tube here, or both of these tubes, with some crumbled up newspaper, and that will give it some more support and more inner structure. Alright, after doing that, we're ready to attach our front legs here. So again, basically what I'm doing is I'm just lining them up, making sure I have the tapers at the right angle. You want to leave some room on this side right here, on both sides there, because our back legs are going to come over, we're going to attach them here. So you also want to leave some room, a little bit of room in between your two legs down here, because we're going to build in the feet. We're going to sculpt in the legs after we strip mache and it's all dry. We'll come in, we're going to sculpt it all out. You want to have some room to sculpt in your feet and your toes. So determine where you want that, where you want your legs, and that's where I want it. And I'm going to go ahead with my hot glue and just glue them right into place. Got one in there in place. Here's my other one. Look at it from all angles, you guys, to make sure that they're kind of lined up, you know, in the angle that you want them to be, and the height up here that you want them to be. Because basically right up here, that's going to be our shoulder area. I'm going to go in and just around the edges, for good measure, squirt in a little bit more hot glue and let these cool before we move on and create and attach our back legs, our hind legs. I brought the other finished gargoyle forward a little bit so that you could see the position of where the hind legs are. So they come down about midway from the front legs, and they come down like this. Let me turn him to the side. So this is the side profile. Front arm or front leg, hind leg here. So basically what I do is I attach a newspaper tube stuffed with more crumbled up newspaper from the back into the front, and it creates that shape. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now I have not attached anything I have not attached the newspaper tube that I've put together here because I'm going to show you how to do that. But I do want to show you how this is gonna look. This is this is 3 sheets of newspaper, and they're the these half sheets. But when you open them up, you have whole sheets. So there are 3 whole sheets. What I do is I determine how thick I want my legs to be, and they're pretty much going to be as thick as the front legs. You can make them a little thicker, but again, keep in mind that we're going to be bulking this up. We're going to be strip macheing them, letting them dry, and then after they are dry, we're going to be bulking them up with clay. So you can make them thicker. So I wouldn't go too crazy on it. But I just wanted to give you an example. So with my tube here, and I haven't cut it down or anything, I've just rolled it to the diameter that I want it to be, and I use my masking tape to hold it in place. I'm going to go ahead and in the middle, bend it in half, and then basically this is how it's going to look, or how we're going to attach it. Knees are going to be up here. This is going to be the bottom leg facing forward, or the forearm or foreleg area. And then here we'll have enough room to sculpt in some feet and some toes and some talons. So that's the front. You're going to curve it just like that. Attach one end to the front, and then I'll give you a side view. You're going to attach the other portion on the back of your front panel, so just like that. And that's basically all you need. Now, I don't want my leg to be this long. I don't want the hind legs to be that long. You could, if that's the aesthetic that you're looking for and you wanted to make them that long or that tall, go ahead and leave it that way. If you don't, go ahead, take your scissors and trim it. So I'm not going to take off a crazy amount. I'm just going to trim off a little bit, rebend it into shape, and I think that's perfect. That's exactly where I want it to be. Now you do have another decision to make. When you attach these, you can have your hind legs protruding out more to an angle like this, or right up against here. And I think I'm just going to do right up against, right there. So let me show you how to put together this paper tube real quick. Alright, so I have my, again, 3 sheets of newspaper. So if you open this up, there's 3 whole sheets in here. And do yourself a favor, when you're rolling it, roll the ends that are not attached. It's going to be a lot easier to tape them in place that way. So, really simple. I'm just rolling it up. I have my other one done over here, so I want them to be about the same diameter, and that looks to be about the same diameter. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to take my masking tape, and I'm just going to tape around and hold this thing in place. I have them lined up, and I want them to be the same length as well, so I'm kind of just eyeballing it. I'm going to make my mark on this one and cut that off so that it's the same length as the other one. Alright, now before I actually bend and attach these to the body of the gargoyle, you guessed it, I'm going to take some crumpled up newspaper, and I want to stuff them both with newspaper. Again, it's going to provide more structure inside, more stability for when we go to attach these and then strip mache them. When the newspaper gets all soggy from the wet strip mache, it will still help it to retain its shape. You want to get enough in there so you could do both ends. You are going to bend, so I mean, but that's not a big deal. Just go ahead and fill the whole tube, both of them. I've got my 2 hind legs stuffed with newspaper. Now once they are stuffed with newspaper, you're going to have to manipulate it a bit to get it back into that bent shape. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna squirt some hot glue on both ends. And I'm gonna squeeze them. I want them out at a little bit of an angle. So I'm positioning here and just kind of waiting. You gotta hold it in place so that the hot glue starts to cool and set. But again, hopefully you can see this from this side. I've got the back of the leg glued to the back of the front panel here. And I have the front of the hind leg glued to the front of the front panel of cardboard. All right, guys, I have used my my little clamps again. These things really come in handy. They are holding my hind legs into place while that hot glue cools and sets. So I do encourage you, you know, especially if you're going to make bigger ones, get a good size set of these clamps. They're really going to help you out. We are almost done building out our armature. We have a few more steps to do. Some blocking in of certain areas and then some more strip mache. But, you know, we've done a lot of work in this one. And again, you know, before this gets any longer, I'm going to cut it off here and pick it up with part 3 that will be coming up as soon as I could possibly get back to this. Most likely within the next week, if not sooner. And we'll finish out our armature so that we can get to the fun part, and that is actually sculpting in our gargoyles. But until then, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.